Alright, welcome back. Today's video is going to be nice and simple and easy. It's going to be some one-card combos using the new Evil Eye cards. Multiple Evil Eye cards coming out in Photon Hypernova. Coming up very soon, because it is almost the new year. So these are all going to start with either Pareidolia, because this will search your Surzeal. Or you can also start it with the Surzeal himself, because he can search for any Evil Eye card. This can search for Surzeal, so, you know, if you play like Terraforming, you have like 7 one-card starters. So let's just get right into the new card, the star of the show, Evil Eye Resurrection. You can search this off of the Surzeal. So this card, you send a Evil Eye monster and spell from your deck to the graveyard as cost. So you get to mill 2 that can't be ashed, and then you get to add an Evil Eye equip spell from your deck to your hand, and then for the rest of the turn, if you'd use a non-Evil Eye effect, you take 500. That's fine. For the purposes of this video, we're not gonna deviate too far from Evil Eye. You can also banish this card from your graveyard whenever you link summon an Evil Eye to equip an equip spell from your graveyard to a link monster you control. So it gives you a little bit of extra recycling on your equip spells if you're trying to like follow up with some monsters. So the 2 main cards you want to be sending off of this is Evil Eye Gorgoneo. It's an older card, so you might have seen this. The main thing you need to know about this is that you can banish it from your graveyard and discard an Evil Eye card to add any Evil Eye spell or trap to your hand, except itself. That's the main thing you need to know about this one. For the monster, we're going to send Basilatris. Basiltris. This is a brand new monster, also coming out in Photon Hypernova. So what this will do is if it's in your grave and you control an Evil Eye monster, you can quick effect to special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. Also, during your opponent's turn, you can immediately, after this resolves as a quick effect, link summon an Evil Eye using monsters you control. And if you do, you can treat Evil Eye equip spells as monsters. So we're going to send these 2. And since this sends for cost, you can technically chain link to the Basiltris to the Resurrection to get the special summon, which is very funny. But we're just going to do it on a new chain here, because we can do it whenever we want. So now we have 2 monsters on board to make the Gorgon. So Gorgon gains 100 attack for each Evil Eye with different names in your graveyard. And the main effect you need to know is that while it has Evil Eye of Selene, it has a quick effect to negate a monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. So that's the main end board for this combo, right? Next, we can use the Gorgoneo. We can banish it from our grave, pitching the Selene that we added off of the other spell, the Resurrection. And here, you can add any multitude of Evil Eye spells and traps. There's a whole bunch of different ones that all act as different types of disruption. And I'm going to cover all of those after we finish this combo here. The main one that I like the most is Defeat, because it's just a double compulse. It just bounces 2 monsters. So with the combination of a double bounce and a monster negate, this is a pretty strong setup against any kind of combo deck. Next, we can use the Selene effect to equip. Or whenever we link summon the Gorgon, we can use the Resurrection to equip the Selene as well. So there's multiple ways you can go about getting this thing out. And that'll be our classic one-card end board off of just the Pareidolia. So we get Gorgon, who's a quick effect monster negate. Selene, which makes Gorgon basically indestructible, right? Can't be targeted by card effects, can't be destroyed by battle, can't be destroyed by card effects. So the only way they can out it is by kaijuing it, maybe like a non-targeting banish. and also by popping the Selene as well. And then of course you have the Defeat, which while you have Selene in your spell trap zone, it can bounce 2 monsters on the field. So it's 3 interruptions and a unkillable monster just off of 1 card. Alright, so before I continue, I'll go over the, there's like 4 main spells and traps that you can search for your main disruption, depending on what kind of deck you're going up against. I think Defeat is probably just overall the best one to get, given that almost every deck relies on summoning a couple of monsters. The next most important one is going to be Retribution. So this is a counter trap. When a spell or trap is activated while you control an Evil Eye monster, negate the activation and destroy it. And if Evil Eye of Selene is in your spell trap zone, this card's activation and effect cannot be negated. So the second effect only matters against like Solemn Judgment. But the main thing you need to know is that it's a spell trap negate counter trap. So your opponent activates some really powerful spell that you just can't let resolve. You just flip this, it destroys it, they basically can't respond. The next one is going to be Mesmerism, and this one can be a little hit or miss. So what this will do is when your opponent special summons a monster, you can target that monster in attack position with attack less than an Evil Eye monster you control, and you can take control of it. And if you have Selene, it's also treated as an Evil Eye. So while the Snatch Steal effect is very strong, it's very easy to play around because your opponent can just summon all of their monsters in defense. And obviously if you search this, they know that you have it, so they're just going to start summoning all their monsters in defense. Unless it's like a Link deck, like if you're ending on Gorgon specifically, most of the time the most important links are going to be more than, you know, maybe 19 to like the 22 range. So this one's very hit or miss. There's probably some matchups where it's like insanely broken, but you know, it'll come up when you need it, I guess. And then the next one, this one's kind of the weakest one. It's just if you control an Evil Eye monster, target a spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. And if you control Selene, it banishes that card instead. So this one, if you're going first, it's just strictly worse than the counter trap, pretty much. Unless you're like going second or something, and you need to pop like a floodgate or whatever, you can technically get this, I guess. But most of the time you're going to be getting the counter trap, so yeah, so these 4 right here are the main ones that you're going to be searching going first to set up some disruption. And of course there are plenty of other Evil Eye spells and traps, but we'll get to those in these next combos here. This next one's going to be going for like a bigger monster instead of spells and traps, so this one's good if you drew like a couple of the spells and traps I just talked about already. Instead of the Link 2, we're going to be going up into the Link 3 this time, using pretty much the exact same combo as last time, right? Sending the Gorgon and the Basiltris. And then we can search for the Awakening, which is basically just Monster Reborn. That's all you need to know about it, is it just reborns a monster. We can go into the Link 2, reborn any of our dudes, and then this will make the Link 3 with Zerziel. Now the difference between them is that if this card is equipped with Selene, you can just quick effect pop a card, so it's like Zodiac Gerident. And then once per turn during the next standby phase after this effect was activated, negate the effects of a monster this card points to, which is mandatory, but you know, if you don't have anything that it points to, then I guess you're probably fine, right? So this one's good if you drew a bunch of spells and traps already and you just want to go for like a bigger dude. Or maybe the negate isn't as valuable in the matchup, so you need the pop instead. Now, finally, this one's just going to be like Link Turbo, Link Monster Turbo, Fiend Monster Turbo. We're going to go through all the same steps. But we're going to get the re-emergence this time. So if you control Selene, you can basically summon two Fiend tokens. And what this is going to let us do... Oh, and you're locked into Fiends for the rest of the turn, by the way. So we're going to get our 2 tokens here after getting our Selene and our Gorgon on the board. Now there are a couple of options here. One of them is the Abomination. So if you really want this card for whatever reason, you can turbo out this. The second one is Underworld Goddess, which I don't have in the extra deck here, but Underworld Goddess is the one that lets you use your opponent's monsters as link material. So for most control decks, having like a big towers monster is really hard to out. But in this deck, you have a 1-card Underworld Goddess combo. You can out like a bunch of big dudes really easy.